Hello and welcome. My name is Mark Blatstein, the physician founder of Physician Pre-Sentence Report Service, White Collar Support and Solutions. My phone is 240 888 And should you have, or if you hear that you're going to be indicted, you've been given a subpoena, first thing you need to do is get legal representation. But as 98% of these cases wind up with guilty pleas, or if you go to trial, hopefully you win. But if you don't, you need to be prepared to go before the judge at sentencing. And so I strongly hope you reach out to me, 240 888 or anyone else to help you prepare for this event. So now we're going to go here and I'm going to pull this up. So facing this life-altering event is overwhelming. You're going to be facing lawyers, decisions, waiting. I mean, I didn't have to, but you may be waiting months, years until you actually have to deal with this. Trial, plea, what do you do? This is it's just disconcerting completely. So I truly understand what you're going to be going through. I went through it. 2006, I too had a felony conviction. I was grateful to be able to get my medical license back to practice 4 years later in 2010. But with 30 years in medicine and surgery experience, along with brief experience with the Federal Bureau of Prisons, I work alongside your attorney to support you in any way that we feel we can. And this helps take the weight off your surgery, off your shoulders. But I encourage you to continue to focus on looking forward, because looking back is just a dead end and it cannot help you and it's not very healthy. And so I can also share with you that while it seems like you're facing into just a dark, bleak, dark well, I had the opportunity to speak with a gentleman the other day who called me, and he was facing a life sentence. And to my surprise, he was able to take a life sentence, and he was on his way to from halfway house to supervised release from home. Amazing. And so it just shows that it's not going to be as bleak as everyone believes. So why find a prison consultant? Preparation that we do is beyond the legal, and we're all a little bit different, but we provide a similar type of service. The nuances, though, is that what we provide is background is regarding your personal background, which is not part of a traditional legal defense. Your attorneys are here to guide you definitely through the legal quagmire, your legal defense. But beyond that, they're either going to be very expensive, anywhere from several $100s an hour to several $1,000s an hour, where you can't afford it for them to take, the number of hours that it's going to take to go through your life's history from childhood to really understand the events that brought you into their office today and in front of the judge at some time in the near future to, what transpired in your life. And these are very important points that you need to understand and then be able to put down on paper, because your attorney needs to understand this and your judge needs to understand this, because in the legal system, there's something here called U.S. Code 3553, imposition of a sentence. And this code takes into account the nature and circumstances of the offense and your personal history. And without understanding really the nuances of who you are as a person, without this understanding, your attorney is going into defend you at this critical stage before you get in front of the judge and before you get into what's called the pre-sentence interview with his hands tied behind his back or her hands tied behind her back. And so, you really need to seriously consider making the effort to draft what's called your story, your personal narrative. It includes your personal background. It's no different than creating your brand. And right now, the Department of Justice has done that for you. They called it your indictment, and it probably doesn't sound very good. Plus, your attorney they're not really well versed as what happens in prison day one. They've never been to prison. They don't know the daily routines. They don't know the do's and don'ts for the most part. And so having this kind of knowledge before you arrive in prison day one will make you feel better, will make your family feel better. That will take away some of the stress the stresses of not knowing where you're going, of not knowing what to expect is a big deal. And so this is what we provide. Access to basic care. Let me make sure I'm following up my notes here. So access to basic care is essentially the best medical care you're going to get. It's just basic. It's very basic. Don't expect more. But even to get basic care, it's going to depend, if you need the care, it's going to depend on your pre-sentence interview and then your pre-sentence report, you have supplied all of your medical records to your attorney, so that As you go ahead and have identified your criminal defense attorney for you in a federal case, you need to understand that your attorney needs to have a track record of practicing federal criminal defense in federal court. Sounds like common sense, but I've had patients. I've had clients that have had attorneys that haven't had that much experience there. Then, if your medical situation warrants, it's important that your personal medical record is reflected in your pre-sentence report. And that's the only way that you're going to be able to have access to optimal basic specialized care, by having that personal medical record. And even then, you may not be able to have access to it. My career transitioned from patient care to physician consultant. I'm grateful for the relationship I've built with retired BOP officials and my connection with medical colleagues around the country. I built this over the years. And for those facing the possibility of imprisonment, this can be an incredibly daunting and frightening experience, which can humble even the most resilient. And so, what I try and bring to the table with you is my years of experience in medicine. Psychology was a minor, and just dealing with people and being able to guide you and prepare you. I believe letting you know that you're not going to be going through this alone gives you and your family some degree of help. How can a prison consultant help? Navigating through lawyers, court appearances, and the possibility of facing prison is a heavy burden to bear and a very surreal experience. At least it was for me. Kind of like the movie Shawshank Redemption, but maybe worse. We're committed to helping you find the answers to your questions as you navigate through this difficult journey. And so, it's not just for you. Your family needs the support also. And so, by giving you this expert guidance, we're committed to helping you find the answers before you even get to this pre-sentence interview, and getting this kind of all out in the open, hopefully in paper, written down as part of this narrative that we'll go through later on, is important, because you deserve this support and understanding as you face this challenge, and we'll be there with you. Why, as a physician consultant? I mean, I'm partial because I've spent my years in mostly medicine and surgery, but why is it important? Well, I provide immediate advice and reassurance regarding any medical or medication related questions that you have, so that you can return home, hopefully in the same healthy state as you arrived. But there's going to be a caveat here. And I don't know what, attorneys will tell you or other people will tell you, or what you're going to read. But the big caveat here is that there's a reason why news makes the news. And that's because when things go, the press usually publishes things that are not good. And so when there's no guarantee that once you get into prison, that the Bureau of Prison is going to do what they're supposed to do. We're going to try our best, but stories that make the press are when things go amiss, when things don't go well. So the caveat here, as I try and explain, is in October of 2022, a judge holds the Federal Bureau of Prisons in contempt for allowing a man to waste away from untreated cancer. I used to have a picture up here from the particular news media. Actually, let's see if I can pull this up. Will I get the link to come up? Here is the article down here, and up here then should be here it is. Judge holds a Federal Bureau of Prison contempt for allowing the man to waste away cancer. This is the exception, not the rule. And I can go into it in detail, but I'm not going to do it in this particular YouTube. But I mean, it just, you don't want to be this person. It doesn't happen all the time, but as rare as it happens, you do not want to be this person. So I don't know if he went into prison with this problem, or if it happened beforehand, or if he had part of his medical record. I don't know. But a lot of these things can be, I don't want to say be changed or be helped, but the family can jump into this from home, especially for someone like this who is incapacitated and really can't defend himself in prison. We've experienced with the Federal Bureau of Prisons. I've been where you're going. Experience has taught me that knowledge and preparation are core values for getting through life. Knowing what to expect before you get there day one is going to provide you some degree of relief. Medical care. The Bureau of Prisons, I write down here, has most judges believing that they can provide all types of care in a timely fashion. This is not true. But fortunately, there are some judges that know that it's not going to happen. And so if your judge, if through your, if you're prepared for your pre-sentence interview, you have the information that is in that you provided at the interview that's in your personal narrative regarding your medical record, and the judge is willing to mirror that or include that at sentencing, then this is all a good thing. I had a client that needed a special injection that is not generic. The judge said at sentencing that he knew that that medication will not be given. But by him saying that at sentencing, and also stating that that the individual needs to be have his blood tested in a monthly fashion, so that to watch his blood values, that should his blood values begin to change, this could open the door. The judge didn't say this, but I'm saying it, for compassionate release and what's called second look at. It's something that changed after sentencing. And so this is a very big thing. Another judge, Jesse Furman, also noted that the Bureau of Prisons in this particular case was like definitely not providing the care. It was horrible. This was MDC Brooklyn. Navigating. We help you navigate. The Bureau of Prisons expects you. We'll help you navigate, excuse me. The legal system can be overwhelming. And so we'll partner closely with your legal team, hopefully get you a reduction sentence if it's possible. Consider alternative options, finding a facility that I don't know we're going to that they'll genuinely understand or accommodate individual needs. I mean, I think that's pretty much of a high bar or a non-bar, but we can advocate for that lower sentence, lower security facility, hopefully select a prison closer to your legal residence. We can request something that ensures access to your rehabilitation programs, but at the same time, the Bureau of Prisons, when you get there, you may wind up that you're at a prison that is nowhere near where you wanted to go. Prison policies. This is what I started to answer. They expect you to know the following, which not everybody does. And that is they expect you to, at home, you get an attorney. You have an attorney now. At home, in prison, they want you to use what's called the administrative remedy process for all kinds of grievances. It doesn't matter what. And it goes according to the calendar. And it is, I don't want to say it's labor intensive, but it's time intensive. So it's important for you to know, important for your family to know. There are things your family can do from home and things you need to know to do while you're inside. And so we set you up and prepare you how to do that. This part is it's important to be able to follow. Next is a physician consultant. I mean, this is kind of where I come to the table. I'm aware with how medical care and medications are provided. And two parts to this medical care. Medical care is provided through care levels 1 through 4. Look at it this way. Care level 4 is 24/7, 365 hospital nursing type care. Care level 1 is really, you probably never see the doctor, or very rarely, once or twice a year, if that. Care level 3 is that you probably need care all the time, but you don't need it in a hospital with nursing 24 hours a day. So you may need what's it called? A companion, where they have someone with you, the outpatient, or maybe you need someone to help you in and out of a wheelchair with activities of daily living, prison activities of daily living, things like this. That would put you at a care level 3, outpatient type care. Care level 2 is what the majority of our population is outside, where no matter whether it's mental health, medical health, medications usually are stable. If your mental health care level is higher than your medical care level, then the mental health care level takes precedence, because it is much harder to stabilize a mental health patient than a medical health patient. Medical treatment is medication and you can treat it. Mental health is mental. And so it's not as easy to care for. Medications are going to be either on formulary. Before we go here, understand that if you're taking medications at home, you need to go through all the drugs that are on formulary with your physician and your attorney. And if they are, and they should be generic. If they are on formulary and you're taking them and they're not in your pre-sentence report, you may not get them. If they're on formulary generic and they're in your pre-sentence report, you'd probably be okay. If they are non-formulary, which means they're generic and they are not in your pre-sentence report, you're not going to get them. And you'll be a guinea pig getting other medications. If they're non-formulary and they're in your pre-sentence report, but your doctor has not gone into detail why all the other medications available do not work, you're not going to get them. And lastly, just not available, your doctor needs to also go through all the medications that may be appropriate and explain why they are not. Next, we're going to go through the, let's see here, pre-sentence report, white collar support solutions, pre-sentence report service. And we prepare you for sentencing, for the pre-sentence interview, which is going to be the most important meeting of your life. And the most important person you will have met so far is the probation officer. And that is, why is this? It's because, one, the judge depends on the probation officer for their recommendation regarding your sentence and your placement. And so if you come across, in a good way to your probation officer, maybe they'll be an advocate for you. If they get the idea that you respected their time, you provide everything to them in a timely fashion, organized, spell check, that everything is done neatly, it's prepared ahead of time, they may honor your placement request, as well as maybe a departure below the guidelines. Nothing's guaranteed. Next is going to be, you can read along with me, pre-sentence interview preparation, which is going to be your future. We normally try and request your permission and let you know that life doesn't have guarantees, and no one can promise you what any judge is going to do, what the Bureau of Prisons is going to do. Everything needs to be provided to the probation officer at least 7 to 10 days before your interview. And you're going to have to give them copies of everything. They're going to give your attorney copies of everything that they want, tax records, W-2s, there's a litany of things. Plus, your narrative. Your narrative is going to be your version of your story. Right now, as I said earlier, what the Department of Justice has is your indictment. They're going to need letters, your character letters. Character letters are people that know you for a long time that attest to your character. If you can get a character letter that from someone that says they're willing to hire you when you get out of prison, as long as they have a position open, that's a great letter. And that goes in with your attorney sentencing memorandum, and that goes in with your narrative and your release plan. A release plan we will go into in another YouTube, and allocution, that's your conversation with the judge. And quite frankly, if you write a good narrative, which is your life, your story, life history, your brand, then from that will develop your story, which is your allocation with your conversation with your judge. And then a placement request, which we do a personal placement request for every individual, which I will go through with you. If you provide everything in a timely fashion, then the probation officer is going to feel that they may actually appreciate the fact that you've gotten everything to them in a timely fashion, organized and spell checked. And they'll have time to get to know you personally during the interview and come away feeling that you're maybe not as bad as your indictment leads them to believe. So judges know that crimes are often rooted in life circumstances. Share those moments and what steps you're going to take to change your life. You need to humanize yourself to your judge. So if you've written your narrative, you've taken the first few steps. And so the nuances are not part of the traditional criminal defense. Your indictment, and hopefully you've read it, is not a glowing endorsement of who you are. I read mine. I felt worse than Jimmy Hoffa. So, we'll help you prepare for your pre-sentence interview and sentencing hearing. Prepare you to how to self-surrender, what preparation, what to bring, expectations when you arrive at the prison on day one. Together, then we'll identify which facilities may be best for your individual placement needs. So this is an example of making the placement request based on programs. I use here, this is a women's facility, Alderson. And so if we come down here, this is Alderson Prison. And let me make this smaller for me. And it just comes here very quickly. It shows you some of the programs that are there. These I check on it. FSA programs specifically at Alderson. Each one's individual. These are other programs that are available. And then we go through, these are all the female programs and that are generally. Then these go through all programs, all of the First Step Back programs, other resources. And this goes through then all the programs that are specifically at this particular location. So that if you identify one, this is what your attorney can use in connection with the placement request. And so I hope that you found this helpful. I realize I've gone through a lot of information at a very quick pace. And thank you very much for tuning in to this video on prison consultants, physician consultants, and how they can benefit you. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to give me a call, 240-888-7778. This is the website page, first page for it, different practice areas. You can come and look it over. several case examples, several of my blogs that I have here. I hope you have a good day. I thank you for tuning in and stay safe.